And a welcome to those of you joining us on ESPN News. I'm Chris Hassel with Matt Chatham, three-time Super Bowl champion with the New England Patriots. We are in New England, East Hartford, Connecticut. UConn and Tulane, senior day, and Tulane off a blocked punt with a field goal has taken a 3-0 lead. Bryce McAllister bringing it back, and he reverses field, cuts it back up, and finds his way to the 20-yard line. And this is the block punt that set everything up. It was Larry Bryant. You'll see number 36, the freshman, getting his hand on it. He knew he hit it, so he jumped up, wanted to jump on it, and he did.
He elevated and extended. It's that oddball thing that college football loves to do with that little mini wedge, sort of a mini offensive line that sits halfway between the punter and center. Some love it, some hate it. And that, in that particular instance, didn't work great because it put a lot of stress on the amplitude of the punter. You got to kick it basically up in the air to get it clear.
And for those of you just joining us, the narrative is the UConn offense and its inability to score, shut out in back-to-back weeks. Newsome up the middle, another positive gain on first down. He picks up 7. Now, UConn hasn't scored a point since October. They haven't scored a touchdown since October the 22nd. These are the things that have happened since then. On October the 22nd, the Cubs were still in the NLCS.
There you go.
Hillary Clinton was supposed to be the runaway winner for the presidency, and Baker Mayfield himself has 22 touchdowns since UConn's last touchdown. And that's offense or defense for Bob Diaco in his 3rd season here at Connecticut. The freshman Williams rolling out. He's got his man, but he dropped it. Alec Bloom, the junior.
Well, that's certainly one of those situations, Chris, where young Donovan Williams needs to get his eyes up. But from this view, it appears he's staring at the rush a bit. He gets a little bit of pressure here. He's got to get that thing out of his hand. The tight end takes 6, 7, 8 strides before he finally decides to deliver the football. As soon as he clears the edge of the line of scrimmage, that ball needs to be out of his hand.
So you're putting that on the quarterback and the tight end.
Yeah, a little of both. But yeah, of course, you hit the nail on the head there. You got to catch a football.
3rd down and 3. Both of these teams have had issues on 3rd down, but most of the time it's not 3rd and 3, it's more like 3rd and 8. And that one's not even close.
Very nearly,
Noel Thomas.
Very nearly a pick 6 there, Chris. They were sitting on that, and again, as a defense, you're going to have watched a lot of films. Both of these defense has the ability to go home and look at a young quarterback. Both of these quarterbacks have had issues with really staring down their first option and then sort of play breakdown if first option's not available. So you'll see a lot of cornerbacks really for both sides sitting on a lot of these outside routes.
And let's watch the protection here after the last punt was blocked near the 40-yard line. It's Justin Wayne standing at his own 13. Pressure up the middle again. This time they don't get there, but they almost did. A high kick, fair caught at the 39-yard line by Donnie Lewis. And Tulane is going to have a chance to add on to the lead against Bob Diaco and the UConn Huskies. It's 3-0 Tulane, early going in East Hartford. You're watching the American Conference on ESPN. Connecticut hosting Tulane, senior night, final game of the season for both of these teams. Neither one going bowling. Bob Diaco matching up against Willie Fritz in his first season out of Georgia Southern. Led the nation in rushing with Georgia Southern, and he's bringing that rushing attack to the Greenway.
He is, and there's going to be a learning curve. They know as much. They've got to assimilate themselves to this particular system. 1st and 10 Tulane, 40-yard line. And Glenn Coyette, the quarterback, hands it off straight up the middle, and they're getting a nice push up front. LeZedrick Thompson straight up the gut. Junior Joseph brings him down. These are the rushing yards per game. That's the largest improvement in FBS. They are very proficient at running the football. That's just not the issue. It's just when they are in those moments where they have to throw the ball, they're terribly ineffective. So it's finding that balance without getting too far out of the lane for what Willie Fritz wants to do.
No Dontrell Hilliard in this game for Tulane, so it's Thompson, and this is a pass complete to Larry Dace. Dace, a former walk-on, and Coyette, lowest completion percentage in the country, completing a nice pass. What'd you think of this one, Matt?
Well, you get a little off coverage because as a defender, if you believe they're running the ball virtually every snap, you get your eyes in the backfield quite a bit. You have a habit of sagging off and saying, hey, I'm going to make sure I'm rallying to tackle.
Coyette setting up to throw it deep down the seam, and it's caught Kendall Ardoin inside the 10-yard line, and Tulane is in business again.
Yeah, good shot here. Them just taking advantage of, again, those eyes in the backfield. Tight end directly up the seam. He's in trail position, but Kuyet delivers a wonderful ball. Great shot there, just taking advantage of a defense that's eyes are largely in the backfield.
And Dontrell Hilliard is in the game for Tulane, and Hilliard toward the goal line. He's in. Make that Josh Rounds for the Tulane Green Wave. And just like that, it's a 2-score game.
Quick strike, Chris. That's exactly what we came in expecting. Right now, Josh Rounds here does a great job of just getting pad level down for the quick hitter. They get you with a shot play on the tight end seam.
Touchdown is under further review.
And they're right back at it. We're going to get this play under review here, folks.
And this might be spotted just outside the goal line. It was close. Josh Rounds, yes.
Yes.
If they spot this one correctly, it'll be just outside the goal line, and Tulane will have to go right back out there and score again.
They'll spot that there at the half-yard line, and really with both of these offenses, we don't expect a tremendous amount of pace, but I think there was large incentive there for Willie's guys to get back up on the ball quickly. They had the shot play. It leaves the defense reeling a little bit, saying, hell, we just gave up 2 pass completions in a row to the Tulane offense. So before they sort of get themselves reconfigured, they hit them quick with a direct run. And as we mentioned off the top, we could see any number of 3, maybe 4 backs here today. That particular carry, it's Josh Rounds. It can be Batty. It can be Thompson. Really all over the board here with their group. They like to roll them through.
Rounds is 25. Dontrell Hilliard is 26. He was their featured back for most of the season. And we're told,
After review, the ruling is that the runner was down at the 1-yard line. It'll be 2nd down and goal.
correct call there on the replay. So take those 6 points off the board. And now Bob Diaco's defense has to stand strong at the goal line. Ball marked at the 1. And Rounds comes back out at running back for Tulane.
And these really are the situations where you would expect for this offense to excel. Just need a yard. They love these runs where there's really an and/or element and the possibility of getting the quarterback out on the edge.
Snap to Kuyet. Hands it off. Rounds powering his way across the goal line. Touchdown Tulane. Chris Taylor with a great block at left guard. And Tulane, with the first 2 scores of this football game, has UConn in a hole that I'm not sure fans think they're going to be able to get out of at this point.
Well, that's a fair point, Chris. I mean, you're down 2 scores, not just the one that they've had such a hard time getting. So, and thus far, they've had a lot of luck in the middle of the field. Those are direct runs between the hashes and a lot of passing game that's gone right down the center as well.
Andrew Duraco on for the extra point. Hit an opening field goal to get the scoring started off a blocked punt. And the extra point is right down the middle. Josh Rounds, the touchdown run, but it was a big pass from Glenn Kuyet to Kendall Ardoin. And Tulane with a 10-0 lead here in East Hartford, Connecticut. Tulane with a 10-0 lead here. It's rivalry weekend. It's tonight, 8 Eastern on ABC. It's Florida and Florida State from Tallahassee. The Noles have won 5 of 6, as always, in streaming live on the ESPN app. Florida going to the SEC championship game regardless to take on Alabama.
Love to see those rivalry games. Great here to get a nice weekend of Thanksgiving games. Some nice games here today. And then move into sort of those historic games. We're playing in-state games that are meaningful. It's a blast. It's what college football is all about.
Not quite a rivalry game here. Just the 3rd meeting between UConn and Tulane. Series tied at 1 apiece now that these teams are both in the American.
Old rivalry between the state of Connecticut and Louisiana, yes.
There are no Louisiana natives on UConn.
True
there
enough.
are no Connecticut natives on Tulane.
Safest bet in the stadium.
That is Zachary Block out of Florida to kick it away for Tulane. A field goal and a touchdown. It's a 10-0 lead for UConn, and Arkell Newsome lets that one go into the end zone. Was hoping it would go out of bounds, but no, through the end zone And the UConn offense is tasked with something that it has not been able to do in a long time. 14 straight quarters without a touchdown. That is the longest streak since 2005, 11 years.
Well, as valid as that point is, Chris, they got a game plan here. They have to go out and call plays for this drive. I think if you continue to sort of play with that in the back of your head each and every drive, it can become cumbersome. It can become too much weight. So they don't have to score those 10 points here in this drive. They just got to get something positive, production of some sort. Move this offense down the field.
They got a true freshman quarterback. They were planning on redshirting him. They did not. Burned the red shirt a couple games ago. Noel Thomas around the end for a 6-yard gain on first down. The one positive thing you can say about UConn so far is on first down, they have been setting themselves up nicely.
Absolutely, Chris. And it's just not taking advantage of the positive gain they get early on. That's 3 great drive starters. Now they need to capitalize.
Williams hasn't been able to do much of anything in his first 2 games as a college player, but it's hard to blame him as he takes it straight up the middle for a couple. This was a kid that just a few weeks ago thought he was redshirting for the entire season and was maybe going to get his chance to start as a redshirt freshman next year. That is not the case. Bob Diaco has gone to him over Bryant Sheriffs, the junior, who was able to do some nice things with this UConn team, was able to move the ball down the field, but not the future of the program like they believe Williams is.
Right, and for this offensive line and for the backs that are involved in wide receivers, the offense has changed demonstrably once they put in Donovan Williams. He's much more of an and/or guy, a guy that's going to pull it down and potentially get a yard or two. The passing game, though, has taken a step back.
Williams to pass on third down, and look out. He's got a scramble, and he's sacked. Loss of 2 yards on the play. He's a runner. He has been able to break off a couple of long runs for UConn. Not this time. The pocket collapses, and this Tulane defense, listen, they don't score a lot of points, but this defense is legit.
Yeah, they absolutely are. And again, I think that's just the look of a young quarterback, though. He did have pressure to his outside, but as soon as he saw it, he was in scramble mode. His eyes went down, out of the rush, was no longer seen downfield, and he was in survival mode. And that punt there was very nearly blocked. Something for us to keep an eye on throughout the day.
Uh-oh, it's a muff. I believe Tulane was able to jump back on that as Donnie Lewis muffed it originally, but yes, it is Tulane football. The 3rd punt already of this first quarter for the UConn Huskies, who have managed just 1 first down.
Yeah, he simply just got to field this ball, make the alert play, and he gets back on top of the thing. But I think this is something for us to keep an eye on here throughout the day. They're very nearly blocking every punt. That's a nice, easy adjustment that UConn can make by moving that many offensive line just up a yard. Just make sure you're not at that point where when you are contacted, you're 1 stride from a block each and every time. It makes the special teams coach heart just beat right out of his chest.
Tulane, 2 possessions and 2 scores, a field goal and a touchdown. And in at quarterback for Tulane is Jonathan Brantley. Glenn Couillette, after the opening couple possessions, taken out of this game for Brantley, who does have a couple of starts this season. Willie Fritz saying that his skills really fit his scheme more than Glenn Couillette, and he is a freshman. Brantley looking to the sideline. That's kind of the hurry up and wait style of offense that Tulane has. It's a no huddle, but they take a lot of time. And running the option is Brantley. He pitches, and out of bounds goes Darnell Mooney, another freshman. A lot of youngsters in this football game on both sides. Both of these schools building to the future. Tulane probably more than UConn.
A decent job there by Brantley, though, in the option. He's really got the ability to hang on to that thing, I think, for just another half count. But you see that a lot of times with a young player. They want to get it out of the hands, avoid the hit.
3rd down as this UConn fan base comes to life. It's a keeper for Brantley. He's got the first down. Taken down to the 45-yard line by Obi Melanfonwu. And Tulane, you would think this was scripted.
Yeah,
probably going into this thing, Brantley, you're going to get it on the 3rd possession.
Exactly. You're getting a puller from the backside, so you're adding in. They're trying to hook the end. That was definitely a prescribed lead draw there for the quarterback, Brantley.
Tulane moving the football again near midfield. Brantley giving it to Round, straight up the middle. Across midfield into UConn territory, pickup of 8. Obi Melanfonwu again in on the tackle. He leads the UConn Huskies in tackles with now 96 on the season. John LeGlue up front, the center, the big guy, 6'7" center, with a nice block to open things up.
A little unusual there because the center of your pocket, you're not talking about a 6'5", 6'6" thrower. He's going to see over that big body.
Started the season at left tackle, but due to injuries moved to center, and they're going to run it right behind him again. Brantley close to the first down at the 45-yard line. It'll be third down in probably a foot or two. 6'7" center, man, that's not usually. Those centers are a little squattier.
It's a little different, Chris, for sure. Your 6'5+ guys generally end up out on the edges, out at the tackle positions. I played with a couple of tall tackles. Mike Compton for the Patriots is a 6'5+ guy. Steve Everett years ago, old Michigan guy, he's another over 6'5" guy. But usually they're in that 6'2", 6'3" range.
Third and short again, and hit behind the line. Big tackle and stop from Jamar Summers. UConn needed that so badly. A loss of 3 on the play.
Yeah, they're going to bring a pressure here off the weak side. That player is basically a dead defensive player to begin with. There hasn't been a lot of action open, so they say, hey, let's just burn the pass defender. That's not a big thing they do. We'll add in, get there, and get the negative play. You have to understand at this point, the UConn defense is a part of their offense. They're going to have to win possessions and get some negative plays.
Tulane punting for the first time in this football game. And this one's going to drop inside the 20-yard line and roll inside the 10 on this natural grass turf. 8-yard line is where the UConn offense will set up. First and 10 with 2:15 to go in this first quarter here. Last season, Summers, who made the nice tackle in the backfield, scored the only touchdown in the meeting between these two teams. A pick-6 for UConn and a 7-3 victory down in New Orleans.
Well, you got a point to turnover differential. I think we can talk about that obviously as this game closes out, but it's something where they really got to get themselves back on top. They have to create those plays for the offense with turnovers.
Two teams have met twice, 7-3 last season, 12-3 the season before for Tulane, and Newsome's in the open. Arkel Newsome out of bounds at the 43-yard line. A pickup of about 33 yards. Gerard Franklin pushed him out.
Tremendous hole here on the left side, winning both at the center position and a little cut back there behind the right guard. Newsome does a great job here just hitting the hole and getting outfield. Again, if UConn could have every offensive play be their first from scrimmage, they'd be great.
And Williams rolls the pocket right, hit as he throws. He needed to get rid of that a little bit quicker.
Whatever amount of proficiency this offense has in their first play from the series, it really seems to go out the door on second down. And part of that is, as an offensive coordinator, pulling it aside and say, hey, we do X, Y, and Z great. We don't do a lot of other stuff great. Let's try to build these concepts and go back to the well for the things that work for us.
Robert Kennedy with the hit there. He's a guy that can run. 4.5 40 for the defensive end, number 90. And it's second down and 10 for UConn. Give up the middle to Newsome. And it'll be third down and long. This is what Tulane wants.
Now, second and 10 is get back on track territory in football. You really need a positive play, especially when you're not a prolific passing group. You don't want to be stuck in 3rd and 8 or longer. They're on the verge of that here with a 3rd and 7-ish. So the idea there is really to cut the yardage in half. You want the real estate down to 3rd and 5. Now you're in that sort of no man's land where it's a 7-yard run. It's probably a little too much to chew. So you're in a drop back pass mode, which we know is not UConn's strength.
Good field position. Maybe if they pick up 5 or 6, it's 4 down territory. Williams to throw, slant over the middle. First down, UConn. That's something these fans haven't seen in a while. They're used to seeing Noel Thomas make catches, but not used to converting on 3rd and long. That's for darn sure.
Well, we know Noel is the guy here. He's going to be your guy and the target in the vast majority of UConn passes. And it's a simple concept. It's just double slants. Get the young quarterback a completable pass, something that is an easy read. First read, he gets to a second read in a hurry, and he gets the ball on time.
Williams again to throw. Pressure up the middle. Finds his man. That's Tommy Myers. Another first down, back-to-back first down completions for the freshman.
And these are all quick passing concepts. You don't make him sit back in the pocket in 5- and 7-step drops. Tight end just runs to 5 yards and runs a quick out. He has to simply read if the defender's on top or not, let it go or pull it down and go to his second read. Keeping things simplistic here for the young QB.
First and 10, 32-yard line of Tulane. Again, UConn hasn't scored a first quarter touchdown all season. Some trickery. Noel Thomas to throw back to his quarterback. And it's Williams on the reception. First down, 3 straight for UConn. Why not, right?
Why not is right, Chris. This is one of these moments in meetings tomorrow. They can sort of bust each other's chops because Noel probably could have got rid of that ball maybe a count earlier. Donovan's out there sort of waving his arms. Get it to me. How many times do I get to run a pass route?
UConn will finish the season without a single touchdown in the first quarter, but something to feel good about. Heading into the second quarter, Donovan Williams, the freshman, a couple first down completions and a first down reception to end the first. Tulane 10-0. Tulane as we get set to start the second quarter. UConn still without a touchdown since this. Over a month ago, October the 22nd, Arkell Newsome found pay dirt. That's the last touchdown UConn has scored. 15 quarters without a touchdown. When they last scored, Matt, the Minnesota Vikings were 5-0.
Had an offensive line then, huh? Now, you know what? They're in a situation now where to get off this schneid, I think would really just reverberate along that sideline. Just make it so we don't have to talk about it anymore. Make it so they don't have that as a reference point. Punch it in here, get points, take that monkey off your back.
That was David Corley, the new offensive coordinator, third game, taking over for Frank Verducci. Noel Thomas around the corner and inside the 15-yard line. You saw Corley. This was a guy that had never called plays before until he was promoted to offensive coordinator before the Temple game in early November.
Yeah, they don't run tremendous pace. That's not really their thing. But yeah, getting used to getting into a game and realizing how quickly a series can go when the plays don't go your way.
And he's calling plays for a true freshman to give up the middle, and it's Ron Johnson in at running back, spelling Arkell Newsome, and Tanzel Smart, big old 77, swallowed him up.
And we're back at that point where really the second down proficiency has been poor throughout the day. Nice gain there on first down, create a play involving Noel in sort of a little bit of reverse situation, but then not being able to take care of that chunk or take advantage of that chunk. Maybe a little play action off of it, cash in on the fact that you're gaining some grounds gaining some yards on the ground early.
Third down and a yard. Give to Newsome. And he is close, but don't think he got there. It's going to be real close. That was 3rd and 1. He may have gotten a yard, but I don't think so. And Bob Diaco is going to send out the field goal unit.
As an offensive line, you don't love that that's going on behind you. You're getting sort of a jitterbug kind of two-cut kind of thing going on when you really just need a yard. You need to clean that up and get a downhill play, get the 1 yard, can get cute on 1st and 2nd down.
Be a 29-yard field goal attempt from Bobby Puyol. Pretty reliable kicker, but this one is blocked. A blocked punt, a blocked field goal, and the Tulane special teams have been just that.
Well, this tells you, Chris, right off the bat, the jump they get off that left side, really either of two guys looked like they could have gotten a hand on this. This is in part cadence. You've got to be able to really delay that, not let them get that flying leap off the left edge. Both those guys obviously had a beat on whatever sort of scenario the long snapper uses. They go into their operation. Both guys leapt across the line, barely got a hand on them. They plow through both the gap and off the edge and make a play. Got to mix up your cadence there. Make sure they're not getting a jump on you.
And still, UConn has not scored in the month of November. Richard Allen is the one who got a fingertip on it, just enough. And Tulane, 1st and 10 from the 20. Glenn Couillette is back into the game after the backup Brantley took the last series for the Green Wave.
And not terribly surprising that we're getting that rotational situation with Couillette and also Brantley. They're very much in sort of, you know, monitor the roster kind of situation. Figure out who they're going to be. They're game planning to win this game, but they're not in a set in stone situation. They're going to go into the offseason with a lot of changes, presumably, across this roster, trying to find out who their guy is, make use of this weekend.
They've got a big offensive line. Tall guys, big guys. Those aren't the kind of guys that Willie Fritz wants on the offensive line. That'll work. Couillette down the seam to the freshman, Darnell Mooney. That offensive line with this scheme, you want guys like the old Denver Broncos back in the day, the skinny guys that can move, agile. Look at the height and the poundages there.
Yeah, exactly. It's angle blocking and getting out in space and sort of the speed option stuff. There's an and/or element. You get a 350-pound guy, they often struggle on the second level.
Straight up the middle for LeZedrick Thompson again. It'll be second down and long. Thompson's been the featured back. Josh Rounds is the one with the 1-yard touchdown run, the only touchdown of the game so far.
Well, a lot of these body types that we see in this offensive line are often the guys you'd see maybe in Wisconsin or a place like that, like a power running, pull the backside guy, really mash things up in the middle and try to win with flesh. A lot of these guys, Taylor you see there on the screen, he's a big dude. They're not the kind of body type you typically see in this spread option type stuff because it requires more angle blocking, space blocking, getting to faster guys on the second level.
Couillette looking this way. He's got his man again. That's Larry Dace, the former walk-on. Senior, 5th year, just 5'9", pushed out by Josh Robinson. John Robinson, I beg your pardon, of UConn.
Good job there by Couillette, just acknowledging that he had that off coverage. He's getting a lot of sag at the edges. Guys, again, liking to look through their man to the backfield because they're basically reading run. You catch them in those moments where they fall asleep, go ahead and just take the easy yards. Take the yards that the defense gives you.
1st and 10, Couillette drops to throw again. Looking down the left sideline, little bit too tall for Dace again.
Well, really in these situations where we alluded to it earlier, Chris, where you've got this 40% completion rate, that's a 2-man route with a 4-man rush. So they've got all the people in the world in the back end there to defend only 2 people running a route. So, yeah, it's not proficient, but you've got an underneath dropper and a safety over the top of it and a corner monitoring that play. So these are not easy throws. Working hard over the middle, that's really where they found their gold.
Tulane has lost 13 straight conference games. Looking to win the final game of the season in 2016. That pass is complete to the sideline. Darnell Mooney with another reception.
Yeah, really nice job there by Couillette with the sprint out play. Basically, he's just got to deliver it quickly. They get the pocket moving, allows guys to sort of seal the edge and create a lane for him to deliver the ball. And he is an accurate thrower. I think in moments where it's just, hey, there's the player, here's the ball in my hand, can I get you the pigskin? He's fine. It's more those issues of dropping back and reading the entire story.
3rd and 5 in what could be 4-down territory. Couillette looking to the sideline. He's got Josh Rounds to his right. Fans trying to make some noise here on senior day. Play clock down to 5. Get it off with 1 second on the clock. It's an option. It's a keeper. It's close to a 1st down, but not quite. Going to be a yard or 2 short. Obi Melanfonwu, the great free safety for the UConn Huskies, making the tackle. Melanfonwu is a guy who we may see at the next level as well. We'll see him in the Senior Bowl.
Well, there's a real good shot of those offensive linemen that on space struggling a little bit to get those second level players. They're pulling them. They're trying to add in to get the extra body. Not able to get his man.
4th and 2, and Tulane's going, or at least it looks like they're going. You like this decision, Matt?
I don't think so. You got the lead. You should play ahead. I go ahead and pin them. This UConn offense has not proven they can go to one for the field.
Option give up the middle for Rounds, and he breaks free. Josh Rounds inside the 5 on 4th down. Melanfonwu pushes him out.
So as I was saying, Chris, definitely go for it on 4th down. I kid, but you know that's a great. At least they went with direct run. There's no cuteness, which we saw from UConn's offense on their last series, where they didn't get the conversion late. Direct run, get downhill, and get the yards that are available. Now you have all new life. I still say it was a very aggressive call. This UConn group has really struggled to score themselves, but yeah, to get conversion here would be huge. We're not just talking now touchdown on the field. We were talking multiple scores from the UConn offense that struggled.
Tulane looking for its 3rd score of the 1st half, and they have it. Rounds with his second touchdown of the game, and Tulane is an extra point away from going up 3 scores on a team that hasn't scored all month.
And you're aware of that. Trust me, as an offense and as a defense, you know you've got to hold them down because of the struggles on the other side. Great job there by Rounds, really on all of his runs today of getting downhill. That hole opens and he hits it. He finds the light and he gets it downhill in a hurry.
Extra point coming from Andrew DeRocco. And he hits it. 3-score game with 9:01 to play in the first half. The Tulane Green Wave, 13-game conference losing streak. Looking like winners so far. Josh Rounds with his second touchdown run of the game. Josh Rounds' second rushing touchdown of the game for the Tulane Green Wave, who have a 17-0 lead in the second quarter. 9 plays, 80 yards. It took 4:17. Glenn Couillette has only missed 1 drive so far when Jonathan Brantley, the backup quarterback, came in. Couillette 3 drives, 3 scores. And Bob Diaco in the midst of a nightmare season and what could be, at this point, what looks like could be a horrific ending as well if he doesn't get things figured out here in this final game against Tulane. He said that not only would a win be important, but he said it would be critically important to do something positive on offense.
Right. Well, in this moment, you haven't done anything positive on offense, and unfortunately, you've lost situationally on defense as well. That's really the killer.
Randy Harvey kicking off for Tulane. Taken at the 7-yard line by Newsome. Cuts it to the wide side of the field and slips down at the 24-yard line, which is where Donovan Williams will pick things up for a UConn team that hasn't scored in 15 quarters. We're coming right back. You know it's rivalry weekend tonight, 7:30 Eastern time on ESPN. Clemson, couple wins away from reaching the college football playoff. In-state rival South Carolina is in Death Valley. The Palmetto Bowl, as always, streaming live on the ESPN app, and watch ESPN. Donovan Williams back out for the UConn Huskies. Last drive, 80 yards, no points, a blocked field goal, but they did look good on offense moving the ball until they hit the 15-yard line.
It's just learning to handle success, Chris. There's been good plays in each of these drives. They just haven't capitalized when they've gotten some real estate.
Give us to Newsome again. He has running room, and second effort has the first down and then some.
So there's the game plan, Chris. They're poor on second down, so just don't get in second down. Gain 13, 14 yards. They've been a great first down calling team thus far in this game. Nice job there. Just get downhill and get the direct runs. It's really been their best. Quite frankly, on the other side of the ball, that's what they've done with Rounds. Get downhill, get the direct run yardage.
Williams to pass, screen play, tunnel screen to Noel Thomas. And that's a pickup of 5 on first down. Thomas, not only the leading receiver for UConn, pretty much their only receiver. 91 catches coming into this game. It's incredible compared to everyone else on this UConn team. Brian Lamel, second in receiving for wide receivers with just 12. We have an injured Tulane player. We're coming right back. With Matt Chatham, I'm Chris Hassel. Roderick Teamer was the injured Tulane player. He was able to walk off the field under his own power. You see him there on the sideline. Looks okay. We certainly hope so. Give is to Newsome. Spins out of one tackle. Can't get away from another. Perry Nickerson, who's been nicked up himself, making the tackle. And it'll be 3rd down and 5 for UConn in desperate need of something.
And again, there a little bit of a failure there on second down. Tanzel Smart also in there, not making the play, but making the play bubble a bit. Allowing Nickerson to come in on top of that thing. But yeah, 3rd down efficiency hasn't been great, but they're back in the same spot they were on second down.
Williams, quick throw, incomplete, flag is out. Noel Thomas was the intended receiver, Richard Allen in coverage. And we have another injured Tulane player as well.
Pass interference, number 23. Defense. Ball will be placed at the spot of the foul. First down.
So our referee, Rick Lumet.
Well, there's one thing you can say. This has been a relatively clean game, and obviously there's contact early there. The flag was warranted and drawn. But not a lot of offensive proficiency, but UConn obviously blessed there to get the call. Happy to move the sticks any way they possibly can.
Noel Thomas, the all-time single-season receptions leader now at UConn. The record was 88. 91 coming into this game, and already has a few receptions. And that's saying something for this offense as well, to have that many catches on the worst offense in the country, averaging just 15 points a game.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a relatively easy game plan as a defense when you go into a game knowing there's essentially one guy you have to focus upon. But because they struggle to move the ball wire to wire, you don't want to over focus. You don't want to send over assets and leave another gash in your defense. So they play it straight, allow Noel to get his touches. Even with those high numbers he's accumulated, they haven't scored a ton of points.
It's Robert Kennedy, a sophomore out of Louisiana. He's really come on this season. Been a very, very big defender for Coach Fritz. Fast player. Looks like it could be a lower leg injury as he comes to the sideline. So it's first down after the pass interference penalty, and UConn has it again in Tulane territory. Williams intercepted. That's Teamer just off the bench after the injury, right back out there, and an interception for Tulane. A blocked punt, a blocked field goal, and now an interception.
Upper left portion of your screen here, people, you'll see Teamer, and as sort of mentioned in the open, there's been an issue with staring down his options. He's looking out there with an under linebacker, though Nico Marley had actually dropped under the route, so Williams was in trouble either way. If he'd have thrown it on a line, it's probably picked off by the linebacker. It floats, he hits it into the safety's hand. So that was a situation where really just the quarterback led the defense to his target. It was a little too easy. That's something as a young guy he'll have to get past. Cannot stare down your intended target.
And now Tulane, an opportunity to try to open things up with a 3-score lead. That's Beatty, Sherman Beatty, into UConn territory. You can hear a pin drop here at Rentschler Field.
Yeah, Beatty is really an interesting player for this offense. We know that Dontrell Hilliard is generally their guy. He's down today, a Doak Walker watch guy who's no longer available, but they like to roll through the backs that they have. We've seen a lot of rounds, but Beatty, he's really the kick returner, punt returner guy, the change of pace, the dude that comes in and makes a play every now and again. He's a young player. He's a redshirt junior himself. He's still got some time in this offense to grow and become a bigger part.
Most top-end speed of any of the running backs, according to Coach Fritz, and it's up the middle again. Beatty, positive yardage on first down. Obi Melanfonwu brings him down. 5 tackles now for Obi. That's never good when a safety is leading the way in tackles for a defense.
Now, it's no surprise here that some of the best plays we're seeing from this Tulane offense are the direct runs. It's big, huge guys at both guard positions. They're going to be better at the straight-ahead stuff.
Second down and 3 for the Green Wave. Probably the best game we've seen Tulane play all season long. Trying to pick up their first conference win of the season. A 14-game losing streak coming in. That pass complete over the middle. Taron Ankalaad into the red zone. First and 10, 19-yard line. This is senior night. This was a night many coming into the season thought would be UConn either playing for a bowl game or playing for bowl position. Not the case. Both teams 3-8. This was a relative toss-up, a pick-em, if you will, according to the folks in Vegas. It's been all Tulane so far. Josh Rounds up the middle, moving the pile down toward the 10-yard line.
And they're back to the straight ahead, no fair dodging kind of offense. When they get that moment in play action, when they get the shot play, something downfield, they go back to Rounds and they go direct run. It's been helpful. It really plays to the strengths of both these guards and tackles on the Tulane offense. And as we've seen, Couillette, he can throw an accurate ball. He's just not sitting back and reading an entire defense. It's taking advantage of the positive plays they have in the running game and then slipping it in there on the pass in the next down.
Rounds again, this time ridden down by Cole Ormsby. First time we've called his name, the junior from right here in Windsor, Connecticut. 3rd down and 1, 3rd and short.
Well, we try to stay away from hyperbole here, but I think for UConn, this is probably as big a down as they'll have throughout the course of the day. If you get yourself down another score, another touchdown, there's no proof in their docket that they can overcome that offensively. Really need to get a stop here.
Couillette has Thompson right behind him. And the give is to Thompson up the middle, 1st down, churning the legs down toward the 3-yard line. The power running game from Tulane, and they are running it right at these big defensive tackles for Connecticut.
And they're controlling the double team. That's very important. The direct run is going right down on top of the double. They want to get that controlled, and they get the man into the gap in a hurry and try to get what's there. It's just a crack. It's just a yard or 2 or 3, but great pad level, and Thompson gets downhill.
Couillette in the shotgun again. Thompson to his right. The give is to Thompson. And he works his way inside the 2. Ormsby riding him down again.
Well, it wasn't much, but it was a nifty little cut at the beginning of this run by Thompson. Had a little bit of backfield pressure and just had to make a nice little slide step and take something that could have been a negative play and turn it into just a 1 or 2 or 3, but something that ends up being a negative play. See, you have a free player there right to the backfield. The little slide step, it's not much, it's subtle, but allows it to be a positive gain.
Also working the clock as well. 3.5 minutes to go in the 1st half. And still a goose egg for UConn. Thompson up the middle, stands up, and Tulane is blowing out UConn.
Well, they're really just going back to the bread and butter each and every time. When they need a play, it's back to right behind that double team, get downhill. He's even pushing his own men in the back. And UConn, they're just not putting up much of a fight now on this direct run. That's just a fight. That's a fight issue. You got to have some pride. It's senior day. You got to want to win. Your record doesn't matter. The standings don't matter. They're getting pushed around. These easy yards are going Tulane's way.
24-0, and for the first time in this game, maybe in the Bobby Diaco tenure, we hear boos from UConn fans on senior day. An interception setting it up for the Tulane offense. It is 24-0 Green Wave. Be sure to kick your Week 12 NFL Sunday off with ESPN. 10 a.m. Eastern Time NFL Insider Sunday edition and an 11 Sunday NFL Countdown with Boomer and the gang. It's also streaming live on the ESPN app. A stunned crowd here at UConn. I mean, they've seen some bad football this season. I'm not sure they saw this coming. Tulane with a 24-0 lead in the 2nd quarter.
Well, I would say, and I guess part of the Bobby Diaco view here would be that they've been competitive through the vast majority of the year. They've been sort of, the blowouts have been more recently, the bad loss there at BC. But this doesn't feel competitive. This feels like mistake-riddled, not putting up much of a fight here in the 1st half.
Still looking for their first points of the month. Haven't scored since October. Haven't scored a touchdown in 47 drives.
Now, and those mistakes in offense become magnified when you can't stop anyone either. And they've gotten into a situation now where you're playing against a style of offense in Tulane that is very ball control. So not only are they putting it on you, they're clock controlling as well. So you look back up there, would be great to put one on. But you're already into the 3-minute offense. You'd be fortunate to get one good drive and points out of this, which isn't something they've done much of it all in the last month of football.
Shut out 2 consecutive games and being shut out again in the 1st half here against the Green Wave. Williams down the middle, almost a spectacular catch from Alec Bloom, but was unable to pull it in. The throw was a little bit behind him.
A little bit, and we're into drop back passing mode here. And Parton does a nice job there at the left tackle position and doing his deal, but the ball is a little behind him. He leads that throw. Yes, it takes you a little closer to safety, but I think it protects your tight end as well there. He's got the ball in the back shoulder. Fortunate that's not picked off as well.
2nd down and 10 for Donovan Williams in his 3rd game now as the starter, still without a point. He took over for Brian Sheriff. They haven't been able to run the ball either for much of this season. That was one thing David Corley, the new offensive coordinator, was talking about. They've got to be able to run the football. Tanzel, Smart, and Sean Wilson making sure that's not happening.
Well, there's some general wisdom in that kind of idea. 2nd and 10, as I say, get back on track. You're sort of trying to iteratively get some pieces back so that 3rd's not so not manageable, I guess. But they're not in that situation. You're down 24 points. This offense is really not fashioned to come back that way. You're pressing a young quarterback into basically a spread passing game here throughout.
3rd down and 11. Williams has to get it down the field. That wouldn't have been a 1st down anyway. Through the hands of Noel Thomas. And a few more Boo Birds from the Connecticut faithful. And you do have to call them faithful if they're out here on senior night, final game of the season, chilly night at Connecticut, to watch a team that's 3-8. And Bob Diaco has all kinds of issues, and it's not just with the offense at this point. They've struggled on special teams, a blocked punt and a blocked field goal in this game.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Chris, and I think it's an important one to make. I mean, obviously, there's been a lot of pressure poured. He gets this punt off, fortunately.
Donnie Lewis tries to return it, cannot. Hit immediately. And Tulane takes over at the 33-yard line. We'll come back, talk more about Bob Diaco's problem.
ESPN, home of the New Year's Six and the college football playoff.
There's Bob Diaco and the UConn Huskies losing 24-0 to a team that's lost 14 straight conference games. And Tulane with the football again. Glenn Couillette at quarterback. Jonathan Brantley did see one series, but Couillette has led this offense to a score every time he's touched the football. Zedrick Thompson straight up the gut.
Now, one of the points that Coach Diaco hammered to us is that, yes, his offense has struggled mightily. He would admit as much. But culture was strong. Buy-in was strong. Belief in what they were trying to do is strong. The defense has still been playing at a relative high level throughout the season. You don't want to find cracks on the final weekend of the college season for you. You want to make sure the guys are still fighting here to the very end. Not that they haven't, but you got to keep sort of going at it here, even though you're down a considerable amount.
Couillette to throw. It's a screen pass. That's Beatty. And he's driven back by Summers.
I mean, it's much easier for me to say that than it is to actually do it. Buy-in is difficult in situations like this. You've been a part of this team. Haven't seen your offense score much at all in the last month, but as a defender, you got to go out and fight. You got to take the call, play within the integrity of the defense, not try to do anything crazy. You just have to go out there and continue to play football. It sounds trite, but it has to happen.
Clock winding down in the first half, 1:15 to play. Tulane faced with a 3rd down and 4. Thompson, the running back. He's got it. And it'll be 4th down. We'll see what UConn elects to do here with 1:01 to play. Looks like UConn calls a timeout. Bob Diaco going to try to get the ball back and get something positive going into halftime.
Well, you got to do it. I mean, you have to play it honest, and you have to say, you know what, we have an opportunity here with some time on the clock. We've got another man down here. But they should. You play it straight football. There's still a minute to go. I know that they've had difficulties moving the football, but football says you're not just going to take a knee and try to figure it out at halftime. You got to go ahead and play this thing out. Tulane is most likely not looking here to get a second possession out of this. They're going to try to just simply get the stop, but UConn is going to have to get back into that spread situation, try to find a route concept or two that Williams can latch onto and make work.
That's Junior Joseph, redshirt junior out of Pennsylvania. One of the leading tacklers on this team coming in.
as they help him to his feet. Can't feel good on a night like this. You're getting beat 24-0. You're trying to finish things strong. It's cold out. And your home fan base isn't able to make much noise because there's nothing to cheer about.
Right, and that's difficult as a player. I mean, you want to come out here and put your best foot forward. You want to show the coaching staff that you've improved throughout the course of the season. You don't want to leave a bad taste in anyone's mouth as you head into the offseason. And, Chris, you want to stay healthy. Players think about that. They absolutely do. On a night like this, you don't want to get banged up as you head into an off-season workout program.
Not much of an off-season because you mentioned that those workout programs start. And I know it's considered off-season workout, but you're working just about every day.
Well, when you're on a bad team, you're trying to prove your worth. You're trying to prove that you deserve that scholarship to stay and not have them recruit over your head, as we've heard Willie Fritz talk about with his group. You don't want them constantly looking for your replacement.
Brian Lamel is deep for UConn as Tulane gets set to punt it away. 1:01 to play first half. 3 touchdowns and a field goal for Tulane. UConn trying to muster something up here to end the half. Fair catch called for. It'll be 1st and 10 from the 20.
Yeah, Tulane's in a situation here, really the driver's seat. They don't have to take any chances there. They go ahead and punt it away. Nice hang time ball there, force the fair catch. And they can play out the half just by simply sitting back. There's no reason to concede or gamble anything against this UConn offense. Make them go the long, hard way.
What do you do if you're Bob Diaco, if you're David Corley, the offensive coordinator here? 54 seconds to play, 2 timeouts, down 24-0.
Again, I think it's route concepts that you're comfortable is not going to be picked off. I know that sounds morbid and you don't want to think that way, but you want to find something that Williams can find easily within the pattern, not where he's going to be confused about him dropping a linebacker and have someone go back the other direction.
He will throw it, and that's Noel Thomas.
And a good place to look is to a singled wide receiver on the outside. There certainly isn't going to be a double situation there, an underneath defender. You can just simply read on or off with the cornerback and go ahead and deliver a quick ball. Really nice throw there by Williams. When things are simple, when things are easy to read, he goes right after it. And that's not exclusive to this guy. That's any young quarterback thrust into a situation like this. You don't really feel comfortable reading the whole thing. You want to give him easy food to eat here on early downs.
2nd and 4. Williams to Thomas again, and it's picked off by Nickerson. Nickerson coming back the other way, picks up a block to the 20 and out of bounds at the 13-yard line. Williams with his 2nd interception of the first half. And Tulane is going to have another chance to put points on the board. 36 seconds to go, Matt.
Oh, and this is really what you did not want to have. Really, your safety is getting involved in that play. The thing extends far enough to where Nickerson can just simply fall off. He sags. This is sort of like drop-off coverage, and he can read through the receiver back to the backfield. His eyes, he's basically running the route for the receiver. That's really the nightmare that you didn't want to have happen if you were UConn. The ability now for Tulane to punch it in for more points. Make that mountain even more insurmountable.
Harry Nickerson with his 4th interception of the season, 1st-team freshman All-America. He's now a redshirt junior. Had a dislocated elbow a few weeks ago, playing through the pain, and Couillette keeps it himself. Now Tulane does have all 3 timeouts. Nice stop from Luke Carazola. This defense again being called on in a really tough situation.
30-second timeout.
Timeout Tulane.
Now, conversely, Tulane needs to be smart here as well. They've had a lot of these sudden change situations in this first half. You don't want to give this one away. And when we had the punt block that only got 3 on that first drive of the game for them, we want to get, if you're Tulane, you're looking here to capitalize, really sort of bury this thing as they go into halftime with really no answers to be found.
I don't think many UConn fans could have guessed this when the season began. It was a season that began with quite a bit of hype coming off a bowl season in Bob Diaco's 2nd season. But they have seen not only a lot of losing, but ineptitude that we haven't seen in college football offensively in a long time.
decades, perhaps.
Absolutely, Chris. And it's curious because there's been some good games on this schedule. They played a very good Navy team right down to the last possession. Same with Virginia, where they get the knockoff win.
Kuyet to throw. Over the middle, incomplete.
I mean, it is not a UConn team that has not been competitive at certain junctures in this season. You look at the Navy game, you look at Syracuse in a relative competitive game again. They've been there in a lot of these contests, but things have really gotten away from them in this last month of the season. Now they're in a situation where a team that's really struggled themselves is piling it on.
3rd down and 12. They can get a first down around the 2-yard line. 23 seconds to play, couple of timeouts for Tulane. Kuyet to throw, rolls the pocket right, looks, back corner of the end zone. And I believe it's intercepted. It is. Jamar Summers, who has been the most outstanding UConn defender of the game so far. A big interception to keep Tulane off the board here at the end of the half.
Well, really foolish here by Kuyet. And as much as we said Williams didn't want that to happen on the other side with UConn, he could not have thrown a worse pass there. It's spread, it's moved the pocket, so you've got 3 people out of your passing element to your side, but 5 defenders. It's really an overloaded zone. There's way more bodies to that side. Sometimes the quarterback just has to make that difficult decision to eat it. Does a great job there of pulling the ball down and getting the foot in. But that was really a play where it was never there. He's trying to shove the ball into a hole where there's just not a realistic opportunity.
First mistake we've seen Tulane make so far in this football game. Newsome gets the call. Newsome. Ball is out. It's recovered by Tulane with 6 seconds to play in the first half. Clock ticks to 5. A huge hit. Nico Marley in on that play for Tulane, was able to recover the fumble. As we take a look, it was a nice run, but check out the hit and take a listen.
Woo! Wonderful.
Roderick Teamer. Woo.
Love those plays. You know, sometimes it's not a tipped pass or necessarily a coverage making a play. Somebody's just got to put a hat on somebody. That's exceptional football. And now we have another change of possession, 3 here in a span of just a minute or 2.
Roderick Teamer with an interception and a forced fumble. And Arkel Newsome a bit shaken up. Take a real speed look and crank the sound up as well. Listen to these pads pop. I'm not so sure many people even realize the ball came out because it flew so high up in the air.
Roderick Teamer there just really came in like a missile and made that play. And you'll love to see him in defense of the running back. Newsome has been one of the really bright spots throughout this day. They've had trouble moving the ball, and that looked like a play call that was really meant to just take UConn to half. I mean, it was really just a here's a handoff. Let's get to that. Let's get inside and reconfigure this thing. But Newsome breaks out into the open. And unfortunately, there then comes turnover.
The last play of the half, Kuyet is going to try to launch to the end zone. He does. Tipped up in the air and incomplete. Matthew Walsh got his hand on it. And UConn, 3 turnovers, down by 3 scores at halftime to the Green Wave. Breezy, chilly night at UConn, getting a whole lot colder for UConn fans and players. Down 24-0 at halftime to Tulane. Bob Diaco's team has not scored a point in the month. Not since October has UConn scored, and you can't score when you're making a ton of mistakes.
It got dark and cold here fast, and I think it's a good visual for how things have gone here football-wise. Mistakes on special teams. Here you see the block punt. There's a blocked field goal as well. You obviously can't have those kind of negative errors when you're already struggling to score. And Williams himself, he's a young guy. You can say this is a bad throw. It's an equally atrocious decision. And the decision even about have him out here on the field is questionable at best. So this is a team that's making a lot of the wrong moves, and then here having just the physical mistake to compound it all. So when things aren't going well, they're really not going well here for UConn.
And we'll get into the decision to burn the red shirt on Donovan Williams in the second half here. This UConn team was expected to at least compete for a bowl game in a second straight season. They went to a bowl game last year, Bob Diaco's second season. This is the third season. He said before the season that there's no reason they couldn't compete for a conference championship. They're gonna, unless they come back and win this game, they're gonna finish in the basement at 1-7 in conference play. And the defense will be out first in the second half. Bobby Puyo getting set to kick things off to start the third quarter. Tulane with a 24-0 lead as they look to snap a 14-game conference losing streak. We're underway in the second half. Nice kick. And it's coming back out. See what the Tulane offense can muster. 3 touchdowns and a field goal so far. This is an offense that at times has looked decent, but not lately until tonight.
Well, they've been the master of the obvious. They've gotten the stuff directly in their lap. I mean, a lot of the real positive plays have come right downhill, hitting in either these A or B gaps, the stuff right over center. It's like, you know what? Let's just take what's in front of us and make this UConn team beat us themselves, because we know offensively they're going to struggle. So let's just pound it right after the play, after play, after play.
Glenn Couillette at the quarterback position for Tulane, straight up the middle. LeZedrick Thompson a few yards, and we'll see what happens with these UConn players in the second half. They're down, this defense especially. The offense hasn't scored a point since October. Are they still going to have the will to finish this thing out? You would imagine it's senior day. There's enough in there, enough in the tank to finish this thing strong. They might need to make a huge play on defense to turn this game around. Who yet to throw, screen pass. That's the running back Rounds. He's got a first down.
A really nice job there of Tulane of converting to get some pressure. They're bringing pressure into the direction they're running that pass. So by virtue of clearing the pressure, well, now you're in a one-on-one situation. So you see a little extra defender here off the left side of your screen. That's an extra defensive back in the rush, which means out on the edge here, everyone's one-on-one. So if you can clear the pressure, you got to play.
And we'll see how much Tulane works the clock as well in this second half. No huddle team, but a lot of times look to the sideline and stay at the line for quite some time. This one straight up the middle, gain of 2, maybe 3 yards for Willie Fritz, who didn't have much expectations in his first season at Tulane. In the last 65 years, only one Tulane head coach has had a winning record. That was Tommy Bowden back in the late 90s. The rushing yards are coming. He led the nation in rushing at Georgia Southern. Biggest improvement from year to year coming off the last coaching staff to this season. He still has a lot of square peg, round hole guys. And he says he's going to recruit over the top of the players he already has, meaning he's going to try to get some better players in here. He said, hey, the best players are going to say, bring it on, and up their level of play.
Exactly. Obi there makes a nice hit for the UConn defense. I think if you're looking schematically of a group that can handle the situation well, Willie Fritz's group is going to be a great front runner, presumably. They're now in a situation
illegal chop block, number 73, 75
penalty on
the offense. 15-yard penalty, third down.
We're going to get another shot here. Number 75 looks like your left guard here gets involved in a chop block. Oh, these are always difficult because you're collision in a guy who's being trailed from the backside. Technically, yes, that is illegal. You know, he is sort of separating himself from the block as well. So there's concern that I do have to cut him off per my rule and the play call, but it's sort of a close situation. That looks like what he's sort of described in there. He's saying, hey man, I'm contacting the guy because he's separating from the block, but yeah, technically we're actually contacting him at the same time at the tail end of it.
And that's Junior Joseph for the second time walking off the field lame. A redshirt junior. And that is why we've had a small stoppage in play. They've moved the ball back to the 27-yard line, so it's going to be second down and 22 yards for Willie Fritz and company. This is not a down and distance that anyone likes, but especially when you're a run-oriented team.
This is heavy draw, heavy screen, heavy quick pass. It's get back on track, as they say. You really got to get just third and manageable.
See how many risks Tulane takes with a 24-0 lead. That pass is complete. Larry Dace making the grab on the sideline. Get a little tiny chunk back, but it's still third down and really long as we make sure he got a foot down. He did.
Yes. Well, I think it really is Tulane. The focus here has to be on smart football. We had this moment here where they had the turnover at the end of the first half there, and then they turned it back themselves. So you want to make sure in this situation that, hey, it's third and unlikely, so don't turn the ball over. Don't do something silly. Try to get as many of these yards back and start winning and playing just simply field position football.
And it's a draw play. Rounds is down, and it'll be fourth down and long. Punt team is on. Foley Fatakasi making the stop for UConn. Good job by that UConn defense.
Absolutely.
You had to do that to start the second half, get it back to the offense, get decent field position.
Yeah, absolutely, Chris. I mean, they needed a stop off the bat. They got one, aided there by that penalty. But Tulane, to their own credit, didn't do something stupid there on third down. Have the ability now to punt the ball a good length of this and back up a UConn offense that struggles.
Punt is low, line drive. Oof. Takes a UConn hop all the way back to the 44-yard line. So good field position for the UConn offense and the true freshman Donovan Williams. And we talked about how he was supposed to redshirt this season. They burned the red shirt. Benched Bryant Sheriffs, the redshirt junior transfer from NC State. Sheriffs had this team competitive early on in this season. Donovan Williams, though, is the future, or so Bobby Diaco says he is the future. The numbers don't compare.
Well, they don't compare, and to my ear, it sounded like there's a situation here that there's a little more to it than what we're getting. Publicly, we know Sheriffs was beat up quite a bit. Completion there. Beat up there quite a bit as far as injuries. There was a story of him maybe not potentially completely buying in. Again, some real gray area that between what Coach Diaco has been willing to say publicly. We know the story of Sheriffs having a baby on the way. There's sort of contextual things around all of this, but it all seems awful gray because from just the nuts and bolts of football, Bryant would seem to be the much better option for the team right now.
And it just came out this week. Sheriff says that he played 7 games this season with a displaced rib. Says it was hard to even take deep breaths. Said he was relieved when he was relieved of his duties because he could wake up in the morning and actually feel good.
Yeah, and begin to heal. So, I mean, from Coach Diaco's point of view, it appears that obviously there was some sort of falling out, some sort of buy-in issue that he alluded to but didn't want to hammer too much. He wanted to let the players sort of go out gracefully with this. So they make the transition to the young fella, but I think there's an argument to be made that potentially, are you doing the kid harm or are you not? I mean, the support system didn't seem to be there because he's not walking into a particularly prolific offense, and now things look a little ragged. You hope in his second season there is an ill effect.
And it'll be fourth down again, 4th and 5 at midfield. It's kind of like when you take a quarterback high in the draft.
Right.
Do you protect him? Do you keep him on the sidelines for a while? Do you play him right away? Some can handle playing right away. Ryan Leaf could not.
Yeah, exactly. And I think Donovan will look back, 2-3 years from now, look at some of these reps he's taken, look at some of the decisions he made, and he'll probably be able to be pretty self-reflective and laugh like, what in the world was I looking at? It's just he has no exposure to these things. He hasn't seen an FBS level defense out in front of him. The confusion level was obviously high there, so he's making a lot of young guy mistakes.
And we are now 2.5 games into his career, and he still has not put up a point. Punt into the end zone. And Tulane will get it back, sitting on a 24-0 lead on Donovan Williams and the UConn Huskies, who have a big fat goose egg again. Despite the score, Bob Diaco staying positive with his defense. We see this game in and game out. Very hands-on, especially with the defense, sometimes even with the special teams. Can't fault the defense too much. It's the offense that if you can't score, you can't win.
Yeah, I mean, maybe this isn't a ton of solace to fans and alumni, but it is something that we can sort of detect here, even in just watching the game. The positivity remains high. You don't see any infighting. There's nothing going on the sideline that would say, you know, it's just complete chaos.
And he believes, he had said earlier in the week that he thinks fixing this would be easy. Now, when we talked to him a couple days ago, he said, that's probably not the right word, easy. I should have said isolated. It's isolated to one phase of the football, the offensive side. If we can get things figured out on the offensive side, and I can do that, and I will do that, we can get going in the right track again.
I think it's pressing, but I also think that it doesn't play well today because on a day like today, multiple special teams mistakes, the defense doesn't step up, and it feels more full system. But I think big view, large view, yeah, offensive answers is really what they got to be after.
Who yet to throw? That's caught. No, dropped. Taron Ancalad had it and let it go. Ancalad, the best receiver.
Well, important here for Tulane to continue to execute. You don't want to finish sloppy. It was a good read by Kool-Aid getting it out of his hand quickly, but you just have to finish the playoff and take the catch. Physical error there.
Leads Tulane in receptions, reception yards, and touchdowns through the air. Third down, the UConn defense trying to get off the field again. Yet to throw. Pocket holds. He finds his man. That's the running back Rounds. That's a first down. Beg your pardon. That's Dace.
I think one thing that's evident here, Chris, is that Kool-Aid has had a minute more in major college football. You can tell he just seems a little more composed in those moments where he doesn't have to go to his first read. That was a good example there where he allowed things to develop. And when it's open, he delivers a very accurate ball. It's not to knock Donovan. I mean, I understand the quarterback on the other side is a true freshman. He's just in the door. But that little bit of experience goes a long way in this game.
True freshman. It's a redshirt sophomore. A guy that's been in the system for 3 years versus a guy that's been in the system for 1, even though it's a different system. That one intended for Ancalad. A little bit too far, as they do take a deep shot down the field for the first time in this game.
Yeah, that's going to be this offense here for Tulane. I mean, again, I think that's why you see the low completion percentage numbers. It's run, 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 or quick pass, run, 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 quick pass, and then all of a sudden you throw in a shot. Those aren't high percentage throws, but you hope to find a defense napping who sort of got those eyes in the backfield, looking to create a negative play because this team runs the football so often.
A bundle of backs behind Ancalad, and it's an option. The pitch, Beatty, taken down, swung out of bounds by Vontae Diggs. What was this formation they were running there, Matt?
I don't know, but you could throw an umbrella over the 3 of them and you'd be just fine. Oddball here, I would say Kool-Aid doesn't do a great job of carrying this play out. You'll see here after the initial fake, he gets rid of this thing real early. Understand you're optioning the edge player. Well, the edge player is 5 yards away, so he's at a point where he can really and/or either the quarterback or back and make it to both. You really want to draw him in, not pitch it until that last moment where the guy has no chance to get on the other play.
Play action to throw. Kool-Aid too far for Ancalad again, and the UConn defense will force a punt. John Robinson on the coverage for the Huskies.
Oh, excuse me. Yeah, we've got another player down.
Big offensive lineman for Tulane. It's Leeward Brown, redshirt freshman out of Miami. 6'4", 350. We talked about it a little bit earlier. These guys are big for Tulane. Don't really fit the system. They want guys that can move, that are agile. They've done a fantastic job though tonight. 24-0 lead for the Tulane Green Wave. Brown tries to get up. A punt when you come back. Rivalry weekend It's already gotten a bit crazy out there. Clemson trying to keep the order down there in the Palmetto Bowl against South Carolina. Down season for the Gamecocks. Oh, would they love to shock Dabo Swinney and the Tigers before they head to the ACC championship game to face Virginia Tech. Brown was able to walk off under his own power as Tulane gets set to punt it away on 4th and 8. Brian Lamel is deep. And that ball hit a Tulane player down at the 30-yard line. So Clemson's number 4 in the country. If they win tonight, they win the ACC championship game, they're going to be in. Sure. This is brought to you by PlayStation 4, our college football playoff rankings. Michigan, likely done.
Likely
10-2. Ohio State, hey, tell you what, they might be rooting for Penn State, because if Penn State wins, they don't have to go to the Big Ten championship game. Look at Wisconsin, though. They're in the Big Ten championship game from the other side, the Big Ten West. They are losing right now against Minnesota.
Of all teams. And Penn State here, they now lead. They came back. They were down on Sparty a little bit early.
Penn State wins. They're in the Big Ten championship game. That pass wide of the mark. So a lot still to be decided with Alabama leading Auburn right now. It's rivalry weekend. We know something wild is going to happen.
Well, it looks like early 90s. Kind of great flashbacks for me. You got Washington in the chase. You've got, Ohio State and Michigan still. Obviously Michigan falls off today, but Alabama's back on top. And, Washington does have to get past Washington State. That's an interesting bump there. But to see the Washingtons of the world, Colorado back in the top 10. My old coach doing a great job there turning things around in Boulder.
It's a double reverse. Noel Thomas gets the corner. Does not get the first down, but it is a positive play for the UConn Huskies. Last time they ran that play, Thomas threw it.
Yeah, finding ways to get the ball in Noel's hands has been a positive thing for them today. Really, between that and getting the ball in Newsome's hands, they found a little bit of offense. It's been sort of those capitalized moments. It's like, okay, there's a positive play. Now what are we going to do with it?
UConn still has not scored in the month of November. Haven't scored a touchdown since October 22nd. And here's Newsome picking his way. Can he stay on his feet? He can. Newsome in the clear, and UConn scores for the first time this month. Finally, something for the fans in East Hartford to cheer about. A touchdown.
And you got to feel good for Arkell Newsome. He's done a great job here just plugging away. Had the unfortunate turnover in the first half where he just got a huge hit, but he just kept going. He just kept going. He's been one of the bright lights throughout this day when they've needed a positive play. He's been what little there has been for the UConn offense. And here, gets low, keeps fighting, keeps plodding away, and finally, daylight is found for these Huskies. Newsome finds a home.
Ran through the arm tackle of a future pro, Tanzel Smart, and now they'll go for 2. First touchdown in 52 drives. If they can get this 2-point conversion, it'll be a 2-score game. Not going to happen.
And there's just the immaturity, well, lack of experience, I guess is the better word for that. Donovan Williams there as he rolls to the right. He's got a few layers and a few options. You got to force it in.
The Vikings were 5-0 the last time UConn did this. It's 24-6. Maybe we have a ball game. The drought is over. UConn scores a touchdown. 62-yard run from Arkell Newsome. First touchdown for the Huskies since October the 22nd. That's over a month ago. And first points period of the month of November. This is the final Saturday in November.
Well, you got to feel great for Newsome for not going to the tank. I mean, he had the bad fumble before half, and this has turned into a really big day for this young man. There hasn't been a lot to cheer for on that UConn side of the ball, but they really have kept the pressure here on Tulane by not folding coming out of halftime.
And be on the lookout for A potential surprise onside. Down 24-6. It's still a 3-score game because they missed the 2-point conversion.
I think a lot of this highlights some of the errors that Tulane made in their own little 60-second scenario at the end of the first half, where they didn't get a field goal, didn't get those extra points, and threw a pick that didn't need to happen. Situationally, they still need to be aware here. They could have closed this thing out.
Puyol does kick it deep and through the end zone. So now a little bit of juice in the building.
For sure.
The defense finally gets picked up. Let's see what UConn's made of. And let's see what Tulane's made of. Because, mind you, this is a team that hasn't won a conference game this season.
Sure.
That hasn't won a conference game since the first one of last season. It's been well over a year since Tulane won a conference game. This coaching staff wasn't a part of that. We'll see what these kids can do.
Well, Tulane just needs to eliminate the mistakes. They need to just play within themselves. A lot of these direct runs, the easy plays, they bend for them. Go back to that well.
Give up the middle. That's LeZedrick Thompson powering his way to the 30-yard line. Melanfonwu able to drag him down.
They've really done a nice job throughout this evening of getting those hard yards on the inside. They've got some tough runners, some guys who keep themselves square to the goal line, keep heading downhill, break a lot of arm tackles, squeeze through tight spaces. Tulane will be well apprised, I think, down the road as they continue to build this offense. Having the kind of guys that understand that mode, real asset to them.
College football playoff rankings sponsored by PlayStation 4. Tuesday, 7 o'clock Eastern time. Whistles before the snap. Flags are out. Let's get the call.
False start, 93. Offense, 5-yard penalty, second down.
We've been treated this evening to a pretty light flag night. I mean, as ugly as some of the football was that we saw in the first half offensively, it's really been a relatively clean game operationally. I think that's a credit to both of these teams. Pretty well coached groups, still trying to find themselves and find an identity, but we haven't seen the real sloppy play.
Nice, cool night in Connecticut. UConn doesn't play on campus in stores. This is East Hartford, a little bit south. Students have to make a little bit of a trek. And it'll be 3rd down now. And this is a big play for UConn as they try to eke their way back into this game. Bob Diaco making the calls, Mr. Defense. 2-time All-Big Ten linebacker at Iowa in the mid-90s.
And how big was that false start? Because now you push this Tulane offense. It is not a drop-back passing offense into a situation where a direct run is kind of off the table. So that was a big mistake.
Yet to throw under pressure, slips out of it, and he's going to have the first down and then some. 45 midfield and into UConn territory. Slipped out of the arm tackle and made a huge play with his legs.
One of the things to really like is the blocking downfield by Darnell Mooney. Watch as Kuyet breaks this thing, and all this space you see out in front of him. Why is that happening? Because the wide receiver is hemming up the quarterback to the left of your screen. Does a great job there of ducking out. But look on the left side. Nothing going on that edge as 86 just works the cornerback over.
That's Darnell Mooney, the true freshman, with a nice block. And Cole Ormsby was the one who missed him in the backfield. Would have been a big sack. Instead, it's first down for Tulane, and now second down and long.
Well, the difficult aspect here for UConn is because of the kind of team you're going against here, Tulane is milking the clock. They're really just sapping this thing dry. Even in the event that this doesn't end up bringing points, you're trying to earn back possessions here. You got to come back quickly, and you don't have a quick strike offense. Well, maybe I'm wrong there. They scored on a 62-yard scamper, but it makes it more difficult here as Tulane gets positive plays, and positive plays that don't stop the clock.
Coming up on 4 minutes to play, 3rd quarter. Tulane took a 24-0 lead in the 2nd quarter. They had a chance, as Tulane calls a timeout before the snap.
First timeout of the second half, Tulane.
Had a chance to grab a 4-score lead at the end of the first half, couldn't get it done. Hello to those of you watching on ESPN News and on the ESPN app. This college football season, you can stream every game live on the ESPN app and on Watch ESPN. Download the app or visit watchespn.com today. 24-6. Tulane holding on to a 3-score lead against UConn. Second down and 10 with the 3-time Super Bowl champion Matt Chatham. I'm Chris Hassel. Thanks for joining us on this lovely New England late fall evening. Tulane not used to this kind of weather down there in New Orleans. As Rounds gets the carry up the middle. Gain of about 5 yards. Matthew Walsh in on the stop. I was asking Coach Fritz about the weather coming into this thing, and he said, look, we don't need to worry about the weather. I told the kids about a time that I was at Sam Houston State. We had to go all the way up to Montana. Temperatures were below 0, and we beat the brakes off those kids, is what he said. He told the story to his team this week. Saw a lot of the players before the game with their shirts off warming up.
Exactly.
Temperature about 40 degrees. Ancalad's wide open inside the 5. Jamar Summers brings him down to save a touchdown, but Ancalad got behind the defense.
Yeah, really nice job of just getting behind a nosy safety. You see number 21 down there come charging forward, probably in part reacting to a little bit of a play fake there. But Ancalad does a nice job of getting behind the defense. Kuyet puts a nice ball out there.
And it's 1st and goal, 4-yard line is where they mark it. I asked Anthony Poindexter, the defensive coordinator, why not just sell out? This team doesn't throw the ball down the field. He said, well, you know what? This Kuyet kid actually does throw a pretty good deep ball. And he did right there. Can't find the corner. Taken out for no gain. Luke Carazola on the stop.
Well, that is often the aspect that you need to your game if you're going to play in this kind of offense. No, you're not going to be the guy taking 5- and 7-step drops, going deep into a read and picking apart a complex defense. But you have to be able to throw a nice deep tempo ball because you want to run it, lull people to sleep, and then fit that ball in down the field when people have started to cheat on you.
And they are eating into this clock now, coming up on 2.5 minutes to play, 3rd quarter. Thompson right behind Kuyet, and he gets it stacked up at the line of scrimmage. The big defensive tackles were right in there. Fadakasi leading the charge at 6'4", 310, Matt.
And you could almost argue that it was to their advantage, to the Green Wave's advantage, for Ancalad's long pass there to not go for a score, because what's that going to garner them? Another 2 minutes of clock time most likely here. He doesn't go in, they get a full series, they're not quite scoring, it's now 3rd and goal, but the clock continues to pour away.
Worst 3rd down team in the country, and that's going to be pass interference. John Green was standing in the way of Mooney in the football there, and I believe they're calling that on him.
Pass interference, number 7 of the defense. 1st down.
And we're going to take a look here at the replay. I think it's plausible that you could argue that, yes, he's interfered with here, but I'm not certain this ball is catchable. This thing looks like it ends up a few yards out of bounds, beyond what was reasonably going to be caught, and he had looked like he'd almost given up on the route after the contact happened. Now, maybe the contact it makes the penalty itself warranted, but curious there that the catchability didn't come into play when the decision to throw the flag came.
That's the way things have gone for the UConn Huskies of late. Kuyet up the middle to Thompson, and he's down to the 1-yard line. Matthew Walsh, one of the 4 captains on this UConn team, making the stop.
And once again, they don't score. Ball lays on the ground. Clock continues to run. Count another 35 to 40 seconds off here as Tulane, you know, hurry up and wait, as you said earlier, Chris. They're going to sit here, look back at the sideline, get their call, and 30 more seconds of this ball game is going to go away.
Ball on the 1-yard line. Kuyet gives to Thompson, and he's stacked up before the goal line again. Cole Ormsby was the first to get there. 57. He's barking a little bit as the clock will tick, under a minute to go in this quarter.
Really nice job there by the defense, and trust me, these are fun as a defender. And you know, as we've mentioned, it's senior night, and things haven't gone the Huskies' way, but you're in situational football, you're backed up. Who knows? Maybe this is the last goal line situation of your life. These are the plays you live for. You have a good time. You know there's going to be big collisions. Guys that have that in them love these kind of plays. Love this situation.
18 seniors for UConn on senior night. Up the middle, over the top. He's not in. Shoved back. Matt Walsh, one of those seniors, along with Obi Melanfonwu, another senior, making the stop and a decision for Willie Fritz on 4th down.
Yeah, what a great job here. Melanfonwu got in on the play. So did about half dozen other guys. They really built it up there around his legs so that the next guy in could top it off. But that's a great job. Great push there at the left guard. You see him back on his heels, taking it to him. Great job there by the UConn defense. They've stayed in this game. They have not lost their attention. They're still fighting from clawing.
And that will do it for the 3rd quarter of play. A 3rd quarter won by UConn. The only team to score on the touchdown, 62-yard run from Arkell Newsome. It'll be 4th down to start the 4th quarter. Will Tulane go for it or kick the field goal? UConn trying to get it back and get it to 22 as they try to come back against Tulane. Interesting decision here to start the 4th quarter. Tulane with a 24-6 lead at Connecticut, faced with a 4th and goal from the 1-yard line. A field goal keeps this a 3-possession game. And Bob Diaco having a conversation with the officials.
I mean, I don't think there's any choice here, but they're obviously a little consternated about it. They're going to go for it, it looks like here. Kuyet runs back onto the field. I think 27 puts you up 3 scores. UConn hasn't scored 3 touchdowns in months, much less, half.
I would go the other way. I would do this. You don't get it, UConn has to go 99 yards.
Sure enough. I just think that history's on your side here. It's going to be very difficult for UConn to generate that amount of offense, and you've left them in a situation here where the door's now open. But we'll see.
They're going. Kuyet up the middle. Thompson. Touchdown. And we'll have to get a look at the replay here and see just how close this was. It was a late signal.
You were right, Chris. That was a really late signal.
And that's what Bob Diaco's saying. No way. Let's take a look from our goal line camera. Thompson's number 33.
Don't have a great shot there, and not in part for good camera work. It's just that massive bodies, he gets down deep inside. He gets turned sideways. I guess they're basically giving him credit for that last little lunge where he's laying over the top of another player. This play's being reviewed by the booth, but you see him actually stopped initially, feet taken out from under him, but once he's chopped, he rolls back over backwards, and they're giving him credit for stretching across the line. Kind of tough to tell.
This is one of those plays where it seems like you got to stick with the call on the field.
Right.
There's nothing here that is conclusive.
True, Chris. And the issue here as well is it does appear that he's lunged over, but is anything down? And there is no camera view that could possibly tell us that because it's guarded by bodies on really both sides. So he's sort of packed in tight there with a man left and right of him. And is he touching or not at that last moment when he lunged over? Kind of hard to tell. And the officials on the field who have the best naked eyeball view said that he did. So it's going to be very difficult to overturn that call.
Need indisputable evidence to overturn this, which would take 6 points off the board and give UConn the football on the 1-inch line, heading back the other way. If it stands, Tulane will be an extra point away from making it a 4-score game.
Right. Yeah, we're going to play a little more CSI here and try to see if we can find a moment. The thing you'd really be looking for is a left or right knee, a hip, an elbow, shoulder, something that's down at that moment he's lunging over. We can't tell. It sort of appears as if he's laying over an opponent. That view doesn't really tell us, and I think that's probably what the officials are dealing with.
After review, the ruling on the field will stand as called. Touchdown.
Yeah, there's just not enough there to make you go the other direction.
It stands. It wasn't confirmed. It just stood because there was no conclusive evidence to turn it the other way. That is a big call and another gut punch for Bob Diaco. as Andrew DeRocco comes in to attempt the extra point. Willie Fritz fired up, looking to get his first conference win as head coach of the Tulane Green Wave. High snap. Extra point is right through. 31-6. Tulane. Week 12 Monday Night Football, a matchup of two teams trying to right the ship. The Packers and the Eagles. And Diaco is going at the referee, Lumet. Monday, 8:15 Eastern Time. Countdown gets going at 6 o'clock. Served by Applebee's. Aaron Rodgers, the vet, against the rookie Carson Wentz. It has been an ugly season, to say the least, for Bob Diaco in his third season at Connecticut. There were columns written the week leading up to this game after the second straight shutout. They were not flattering at all. One columnist calling it the magical mystery tour of happy horse manure. Another columnist saying that this is the apocalypse formerly known as UConn football. It's leaderless, it's rudderless, it's hopeless. Bob Diaco just signed an extension after the bowl trip last year through 2020. His buyout is $5 million right now. That dips to 3.7 on January 1st. And there are some people beginning to whisper here in these parts that maybe Bob Diaco is not the right man for the job because of the monstrous step back in year 3. Newsom isn't an issue, that's for darn sure. Last time he touched the ball, he went 62 yards for a touchdown. He's out to the 25-yard line. So UConn gets the ball back after scoring their first touchdown in over a month. The biggest issue for Bob Diaco, it's not his defense. He's a defensive guy. It's his offense. He had to demote his offensive coordinator, Frank Verducci, puts David Corley, the running backs coach, in at offensive coordinator, who had never made any play calls. And since that, they've only gotten worse with the true freshman quarterback as well.
Yeah, this is not a situation here at UConn where, you know, there's 60,000 people in the stands and you're rolling in gate revenue and things along that line. So it's a hard financial decision as well, but it could basically come down to a little inside trap play here that goes for nothing, but it could, by and large, I think best guess come down to the idea that they can still believe in Bob Diaco's direction with the program. You can still believe in his leadership, the culture he's brought, things along those lines, his ability to coach defense, but maybe a new hand on the offensive side of the ball is absolutely warranted. Save a portion of your staff, but get that new voice, that person that comes in to sort of redirect the ship. If not, it may just be more of the same.
Verducci was the offensive coordinator when Sheriffs was the quarterback, when this team was scoring some points, winning some ball games, but they decided to go in a different direction, and changes are going to be made.
Well, if you look at this, excuse me, Chris, if you look at this offense and what they were built to do, this is more of a two-back kind of thing. It's more of a deliberate offense, hard sell play action off of a tough running game, and now they're essentially running a spread offense, and that's not the DNA a lot of these people, a lot of these coaches that are doing this. So in part, it's what do you want to be? You know, are we going to be this team that's a little bit like a Boston College South kind of deal that just runs, you know, the hard-nosed defensive schemes and is very conservative on offense and runs more of a pro style? Or are we going to just completely, you know, TCU it or Baylor and open it up to something that we've not yet seen before? If that's the case, it probably requires an outside voice, because that's really not the MO of a lot of the people in the building. So that may mean you're recruiting for a different kind of player. You're certainly instituting a scheme that they're kind of sort of trying to run here, but at a bit of a JV level, because it's not really their thing.
And by all accounts, sounds like Bob Diaco is going to be back for a 4th season. He believes he will get this thing turned around. He's staying positive. That remains to be seen, and this would be the biggest blemish in his tenure at UConn if he loses at home to Tulane. A flag on the field back toward the line of scrimmage.
While the kick was in the air, holding on the receiving team. Penalty will be half the distance to the goal. First down. Timeout.
13:33 to play. Tulane, big lead, and the football on Bob Diaco's UConn Huskies. You're watching the American Athletic Conference on ESPN. We are in East Hartford, Connecticut, and it's all Tulane. 31-6, the road team from New Orleans taking its 14-game conference losing streak up north on the final Saturday of November and blowing out UConn. That's the longest conference losing streak in FBS, and Tulane has a 25-point lead, a 4-score lead, and the football with 13:13 to play in this football game. A lot of it's been done on the ground. Josh Browns has a couple of touchdown runs.
Yeah, and back to what they do best, just sort of leak this clock, direct run.
Look at the bowl-eligible teams from the American. These two teams, not two of them. UConn was there last season. Tulane has made one bowl game since 2002. These are the bowl-eligible teams right now, and this is a strong conference. 1 through 7, 1 through 8 or so, and a conference that could bump Western Michigan off that perch as the highest ranked group of five champion. If Navy can win out, and they are in the American Championship game, if they can win out and they jump ahead of Western Michigan in the rankings, and they are ranked, Navy 25, they would get the automatic berth to the New Year's Six.
Holding, number 93, offense. Penalties half the distance to the goal from the previous spot. Second down.
Yeah, really an incredible turn of events here in the American. Obviously, coming out of the old Big East, this is a relatively young conference. See the P6 sticker there on the helmet. They really think of themselves as not sort of an outside the Power 5, but an on the cusp, on the doorstep kind of conference that I think can make some plausible arguments, really just to the depth, the quality of depth that they have in the deal. Some of these biggest games that have actually happened in this conference have been interconference games. I think this is a great sign. You know, yes, Houston goes out and beats in Oklahoma. Yes, Houston can beat a Florida State in a bowl game. But some of these battles between Navy and Memphis and UCF coming back out of nowhere, and even South Florida, really sort of speaks to the strength of this conference. Temple, a team we haven't even mentioned, but these are not just technically bowl teams, the old 500, yes, you can go play in the toilet bowl. These are legitimate, strong teams that can be very dangerous to bottom half Power 4 conferences.
And on that note, you mentioned Houston, Tom Herman and company for now.
Yeah.
That Houston team got a real tough game from Tulane earlier this season. Tulane is the only team in Tom Herman's tenure there to keep Houston under 300 yards of total offense. Tulane was very competitive in that football game, and this is the only winless team in the American. Winless for now, maybe not so in 40 minutes or so.
Now, and Tulsa's another team we should touch on there as well. Another real nice surprise, came out swinging, scored well. I think as much as just sort of the quality of the teams, the coaches coming out of this conference. Mike Norvell at Memphis is, you know, one of the younger coaches in FBS. He's out there, you've really done a nice job in the first year for him. Matt Rule at Temple, another sexy candidate for other big jobs down the line, although he's very happy having the school there in Philadelphia. We all know about Herman's story and how attractive a candidate he is at other places, but you're really seeing some of the better play at the mid-level and then some of the better coaching. This is really a good conference to be in these days. Really high-level ball played here in America.
Rugby-style punt, angled toward the sideline, gets a good Tulane kick, and it's out of bounds at the 47 of UConn. The Huskies will have the ball and a lot of ground to make up. Not much time either. Rivalry weekend continuing tonight, 8 o'clock Eastern on ABC. This is one of the best in football, and it's two top 15 teams this season. Florida's going to the SEC championship game to face Bama. They are in Tallahassee to face 14th ranked Florida State. As always, it's streaming live on the ESPN app. The Noles have won 3 straight and 5 of 6 in that series. Connecticut with the football down 25 points. They need 4 scores. They did get off the schneid a couple drives ago with a touchdown run from Arkell Newsome. Nice pass That's Thomas. He scoots his way to the 36-yard line. As we take a look at some news and notes from around college football on this extremely busy day on and off the field. LSU removes the interim tag from Ed Orgeron. He will get his shot. Texas fires Charlie Strong. Ohio State outlasts Michigan in double overtime. Now let's go back to the Texas firing Charlie Strong part. Heather Dinich, one of our colleagues, has confirmed that Tom Herman is going to be the next head coach at Texas. Tom Herman will be hired by the Texas Longhorns.
It's interesting, sort of that little extra piece of news that preceded this a couple months prior, when the decision of the Big 12 not to expand by a couple teams was taken off the table, which really, there was some back talk that Herman could have potentially stayed at Houston for a nice big bonus by getting his team to slide into the Big 12. Keep Houston as a Big 12 team. They absorb one of those spots, and they're able to keep their coach at home. But when the news that came out, retaining Herman really became quite the long shot. Then another ball drops, and the big team in Texas, UT, has a vacancy, and it just became sort of an inevitability that a coach as hot as Herman, who gets to stay home in that state of Texas, would likely make that move.
There's Richard Allen, the senior, being helped off the field as UConn has it 1st and 10 at the 36-yard line. Williams to the sideline again. It's Urgi Mayala with his first catch of the football game. And that stops the clock as well. UConn's going to have to score in a hurry and get some help as well. But at least something positive happening on offense in this. UConn's getting blown out by Tulane. There's no way to sugarcoat that, okay? But I've watched a lot of game tape from Donovan Williams over the last couple of games, his other 2 starts. This is as good as he's looked, and this is a good defense as well.
In the second half, yeah, I think a lot of the really ugly stuff in the first half is in the rear view, and he's able to say, hey man, let's put a couple good series out there. Misses badly there on the fade route, but he's hit a couple nice tempo throws on the inside of the hash and numbers. The stuff that's in front of him that's not necessarily the first read, those are good signs for a young player, but he's just a young guy who needs reps. I mean, practice reps, off-season reps, workout reps, and now some game reps to go with it as well. But he's got a long way to go in his career. This is just step 1 of many.
Seen some flashes, and again, it's relative. They've been so bad, this UConn offense, that it doesn't take a lot to be a little bit better.
Sure.
They scored some points in this game.
Sure enough.
Against a good defense. Williams screen pass. That's Newsom. Got to get him the ball any way possible, especially in the open field. I like that. I'd like to see more of that if I'm a UConn fan. Newsom had the 62-yard touchdown run. He's up over 160 yards rushing. And UConn with a first down in the red zone.
Oh, Chris, it's really one of those situations, too, where you are looking, they're not right now evaluating for next year, but as you look at this team, if you're a fan of this team, Arkel Newsom looks like the kind of guy that could be a part of this regardless of the scheme they're running. He could be a positive addition to whatever the
Only a
Huskies
junior.
get into.
Yeah,
exactly.
And I said the red zone because Bob Diaco considers the 22-yard line to be the start of the red zone. That pass knocked down. 22-yard line is the start of the red zone for Diaco. And that is where they're at right now. Luke Jackson was able to get his mitts on that. And it's 2nd down and 10 for UConn. Senior night, 18 seniors for UConn finishing their careers at home. And they'll be staying home for the holidays. No bowl game for either one of these teams. This is the bowl game. I tell you what, Tulane wins this game. Tulane closes this out and continues playing as well as they have. They're going to feel awfully good heading into year 2 of the Willie Fritz era. Newsom, a few.
And the unfortunate situation here, this is just dumb luck. This happens oftentimes in a series, but you got a right-handed young quarterback who's buried on the right hash, right? So they're doing a lot of right-handed things, but they're running it into the boundary. So there's all this space to the left of them. They love to move the pocket with the guy. A few of his positive plays have come in that manner, but they can't move the pocket left. They don't want him thrown across his body. So they're almost benefiting here by recentering the ball and giving him a little option to use the width of the field.
3rd and 8. Thomas in motion. Williams will swing it out to Newsom. He has the corner. He cuts it back. He's in for his 2nd touchdown of the game.
Oh, Chris, and that's exactly what I'm talking about. This play could not have happened from the right hash. Why? They need that extra 5 yards of width to get some space between the back and the rest of the formation. This is made possible by virtue of recentering the ball and then using the width. The back gets out in space, and you love how Newsome's been. This guy has had a monster day, probably one of the bigger, more productive games by an individual in all of college football today, getting near 200 yards of full productivity.
160 on the ground, 28 in the air, a couple of touchdowns, and kudos to Donovan Williams. His first career touchdown for the true freshman. 31-13 after the extra point. UConn still breathing and finally scoring 2 touchdowns in 1 game. (31-13) now. Arkell Newsome with his 2nd touchdown of the game, this time a receiving touchdown, the first touchdown pass of the young career of Donovan Williams, the true freshman quarterback for Connecticut. We'll see now if they go onside. It appears as if they will. 8:30 to go. They still are behind 3 scores.
And you see sort of by alignment here, the math tells you there's a vulnerability at the bottom, but that requires the kicker to turn and wheel back quickly. A lot can't pull that off, but if you could, you got a 4-on-3 up at the top. It's just going to be a mash of bodies.
See what Bobby Puyol, the kicker, can do. Doesn't get the hop, and Tulane's got it. Sometimes it doesn't work. A lot of it's luck. Tulane will have the ball, and if they can hold on to it, avoid a big mistake, they should be fine. Jared Franklin was able to make the recovery. Tonight, after college football on ESPN, it's SportsCenter. Kevin Connors and Butchie. We'll have a full recap and reaction from rivalry weekend. Huge day in college football on and off the field, with the news that Ed Orgeron is going to be the head football coach at LSU, not just the interim head coach. And Tom Herman will be hired by the Texas Longhorns, according to Heather Dinich. It's SportsCenter at nights after college football tonight on ESPN. 1st and 10 Tulane, 45-yard line. Keep it on the ground, and that's Thompson straight up the middle, and he will take it home. 45 yards, and Tulane is rolling it up on UConn.
These are really the parts of the offense that Willie Fritz's guys have excelled at. You see some nice mashing, some nice movement over the guard and center position, and Thompson breaks that first wave, and then it's just run home, because there's not much else to do. They get through the first wave, and your second layer players, they're completely out of it. So these direct runs on the inside, it's really been the gold for this Tulane offense today.
Tell you what, Willie Fritz was talking a lot about that offensive line and how they're too big. They're not agile enough as the guys that they will be recruiting. They look pretty good tonight.
Well, they do, because they haven't had to basically do the whole offense, right? You haven't had a lot of the edge plays. A lot of the action we've seen has been on the interior, and I give Willie Fritz credit. You know, you can't run everything you'd love to run. You can't run every play you ran at Sam Houston State. But the stuff that fits their personnel today as they are is a lot of this sort of mashing on the interior, and UConn hasn't been able to counter the power football right up the gut.
This is going to be the first season-ending win for Tulane in a long time.
Okay.
They've lost 12 straight season enders. Oof. Whether it's a bowl game or the last game of the season, they have not ended their season on a win in a dozen years.
I'll tell you, as a player, that's 12 angry off-season programs, because they have a habit of really taking that taste into the next round of work.
That's 4 classes of players. That's
4 classes of players
that
don't know what it's like to have a meal in June and remember the last time you played football you won.
And this is a banged-up team as well. You can travel 70 players. You can dress 70 players. Only 59 players.
59 made the trip, yeah.
Made the trip for Coach Fritz. They're banged up. It's a Southern team, playing a lot of warm weather games down in New Orleans, coming up here on a cold night, late November, and they put up 38 on a good UConn defense.
Yeah.
They haven't always played well, but this is the one aspect of UConn football that has been good this season has been the defense. Celebrating its 12th year sponsoring the Good Hands Field Goal Nets, All-State makes contributions to participating universities' general scholarship funds for each field goal and extra point kick. To date, All-State has contributed millions in scholarship monies. Millions. Tulane to boot it away to Arkell Newsome. Arkell's got to feel good. He's got one more year left. Best high school player in Connecticut history. Rushed for over 10,000 yards in his career.
And
what incredible number.
And whatever kind of passing game they rely upon here, get a little bit of squib kick from Tulane. UConn falls on it. We're going to look here at what he's done tonight. Newsome had a monster evening, obviously. First play of the game out the bat. Hey, one of these great productive first down plays. Nice sharp cuts, gets himself downhill. Busts out in the open, long touchdown. We remember that as well. Gets here on the swing pass out later in the game. The guy found ways to be productive really all over the field in a lot of different sort of kind of ways in the offense. So I think he's certainly one of those positives. In a room full of negatives, he's a guy that you can really keep in your plans, regardless of what kind of passing game they settle on, what kind of passing scheme they feel fits Donovan the best. His run productivity, both as a catcher out of the backfield and just simply direct runs, should be a big part of it.
Don't think you can get him the ball enough as Williams goes down. Tanzel Smart got his big mid on him and tripped him up. Smart, 5.5 sacks now. Came in leading the team in sacks and tackles for a loss.
Yeah, he's such a disruptive player up the gut here, winning one-on-one, just shoving his guy away and still making the play. He's the kind of guy that makes plays even when he doesn't get stats. There he gets the stat.
Fritz told us he will definitely be drafted. Over the middle, running room. That's Thomas.
And he also gets an opportunity to make his case for what that draft pick is going to be. He gets another shot here at the Senior Bowl. He's a guy who's a disruptive player on a program that's not traditionally strong as Tulane, but coming along here trying to rebuild this thing. But Tanzel has really grabbed handlines and made people notice him on tape. That's a big thing for your, sort of the case you want to make on Sundays. Regardless of what's going on around me, I make plays.
3rd down and 5. Williams has time in the pocket. Lollipops that thing out of bounds. I'm not sure if he was trying to find Mayala or trying to throw it away. He's a little bit gimpy. It pulled something, and that might be why the throw was so awry. It appears that they're going to go for it on 4th and 6.
He's got that brace there on the left leg. I don't know if that's what's sort of flared up on him, but if you're trying to do an and/or offense where Donovan is a part of potentially taking off and running, that appears to be off the table. We're sort of in drop back pass mode or handed off to Newsome because his mobility is clearly in question at this juncture.
Bob Diaco says his upside is as high as any other quarterback in America. It's almost picked off, and Chenal would have had a touchdown. Terrace Chenal stepped right in front of it, read it the whole way. Regardless, it's a turnover on downs, and Williams clearly not 100%.
He's hopping and skipping off the field. And again, here I think he's marred by first read that should have never been thrown. You know, he seems to have had his mind made up where he was going to go with the ball when the thing hit his hands. Drop back, take a shot. Looks like trainers are going to come over and take a look at his leg. He's clearly not all there. Didn't look comfortable, but legs don't throw the ball. So that was more of a decision issue on that last throw. I'm very fortunate that it wasn't a pick six.
And now Tulane with the football. This is an unusual situation. With the football and a big lead. Tulane fans not used to seeing this, not in conference play anyway. Couillette hands it off, rounds straight up the middle and shoved back. 7:15 to play in this football game and in the careers of several players on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, and I personally played it at a school where we got blown out on my final game, and you know, got to play a lot of years in the NFL and all of that, and I still remember it. I have very poor memories of that final collegiate performance. You hate to go out like this. These UConn players got to keep fighting and scrapping and try to somehow grasp onto a positive personal memory, because the team version of this isn't very good. You want to make a play, you want to do something positive, sort of scrub the bad taste here.
It's going to be a long off season for the UConn Huskies. And a lot of tough decisions are going to have to be made. First up top in the athletics department, do we stick with Bob Diaco? And it sounds like that is going to be the case, that Bob Diaco is going to get a chance at a fourth season. And, you know, the buyout is $3.7 million, and that's if you wait until January 1st. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money. This is a guy that took the team to a bowl game last season, has shown promise. He's a Broyles Award winner as the top assistant in the country when he was defensive coordinator for Brian Kelly at Notre Dame. The defense isn't the problem. He's the defensive coach, but this is his very first head coaching job, 17 years as an assistant. Third and long, and Rounds won't get there.
Well, I think one of the greater issues here too that they'll be deciding upon is there is greater context here. It's not as if there was 2-year growth curve and then of offensive growth, I'm saying, and then they just fell off the cliff. It was more of the offense has never been good, really, here under this 3-year tenure.
And he even mentioned when we were talking to him a couple days ago, Bob Diaco, that this problem on offense started before he was even here.
Right, so it's systemic. You know, it's the idea that they haven't moved the football in many, many years here at UConn, so they need a new answer. The momentum that they gained as a program is about culture buy-in and about toughness, and they did play stingy defense, and they were timely with some of the things they did. We're seeing a little quick kick here.
Yeah, Couillette.
Interesting.
Couillette, the quarterback, punting it. That's going to work down to the 5-yard line.
Is inside the 20 stats are high. Great net. Way to go, buddy.
Things are looking good for the Green Wave. Not so angry tonight. Looking at the ankle of Donovan Williams on the sideline, and he is not going to come back in this football game, at least not right now. That is one of the captains on this team, Brian Sheriffs, who was the starting quarterback for most of this season, has a displaced rib that he says he played 7 games with. He was demoted, sent to the bench, and he will not come into this game. It'll be a senior Garrett Anderson. And we asked Bob Diaco a couple days ago, if something happens to Williams, is Sheriff's going to be the backup? Is he going to come in? He said yes, or it'll be somebody else.
Him or someone else, right. And it's a senior night, so I understand sort of the wanting to get Anderson the reps here, and the game looks like it's out of hand.
And he has seen some action this season. Hands it off to Newsom. Anderson, a senior out of Walnut Creek, California. JUCO transfer. A little running back last year. Played a big role in probably the biggest win of the Bob Diaco era, and it's not close. Had a 45-yard touchdown pass in the upset last season against Houston.
Against Houston, yes.
Anderson will throw it and has his man Thomas. That's a first down.
Well, this is going to make things difficult if they move the ball very efficiently here. I mean, it'll muddy the waters a little bit about the decisions to go with the young fella, because Anderson is a senior. You know, he looks like he knows his stuff, and there are a couple positive plays here to start the thing off, but it does make the conversation a little more difficult if he plugs him in and they score easy. But we're a long ways from that, clear.
Pass complete to Thomas. Donovan Williams is on the sideline getting his ankle looked at. Brian Sheriffs was the starting quarterback who we thought might come in place of Donovan Williams, but Sheriffs on the bench. The word is that many people do not believe Brian Sheriffs is going to be back with UConn next season. Many believe, even though he is not a senior, he is a redshirt junior, that this is probably the end of his UConn career. That remains to be seen.
Sure.
But it is nice to see a senior get some action at quarterback here late in the game, in the last game of his career, Garrett Anderson, as he tries to avoid the pressure and does. Still looking downfield, gets clobbered, and it's incomplete. Big ol' hit.
Yeah, a little help there with the pad from Parrott. He's got to put that thing back up, but he's rolling left, and he is a right-handed quarterback, so he's got to get himself square to get this thing pulled off. little flick his arm. Oh,
he looked nice for Eric Thomas.
Yeah, unfortunately that left shoulder doesn't sort of crumple underneath him, and you end up with a torn AC or something along those lines. But he's doing a nice job out here, sort of moving around and kept himself warm there on the sideline. Has made a couple nice throws and moved the team a little bit.
3:16 to play. Tulane took the lead on a blocked punt. Kicked a field goal to take a 3-0 lead early in the game and have not looked back. A blocked punt, a blocked field goal, a few interceptions, a fumble recovery, and UConn never could recover from a 24-0 hole.
Yeah, that was Ade Aruna. We haven't spoken much about him today, but he is an absolute, number 87 is an absolute physical freak on the right side of that Tulane defense. He's a young man who will continue to grow, and you may hear some more about him down the line. 6'6", 270, big guy. Ooh.
That ball is ripped out. Are they calling that a fumble? Nico Marley ripped it out and recovered it, and they're going to give the ball to Tulane. What a play by number 2, Marley. Father Rohan, he wears number 2 for his dad, who played linebacker at Miami in the mid-90s, of course, the grandson of Bob Marley. Look at that strip and scoop from a kid who's about 5'7".
Yeah, he's safety size, but has a huge heart in there playing at an inside linebacker position. What a great way for that senior to sort of end his career. Gets in there. He's always been a bulldog. Incredible nose to the ball. He's small. He's not linebacker small, 5'8". There's 5'8" guys. Think of the London Fletchers and guys that have had great pro careers at sort of a sub-6-foot level. But he's 5'8" and 200, not 220, not 230. He's not a super thick guy. That's a safety playing linebacker, but who's been very productive throughout his career. Great way to end it for him.
And Tulane trying to put a little cherry on top. Trey Jackson, backup running back, getting his first action for Tulane as Jonathan Brantley is spelling Glenn Couillette, who had maybe his best game of the season at the quarterback position. Came in with the lowest completion percentage in the country and did a real nice job leading this Tulane offense tonight.
Yeah, they had complimentary play. They had a couple shot plays in there, a few plays where he was efficient to get some conversions, but the running game really led the way.
And again, straight up the middle as they try to burn this clock out. I don't know if you get the Gatorade bath if you're Willie Fritz for your first conference win as head coach on a cold night in November, or do you spare him that?
Well, I don't know. I think we're looking at Glenn Couillette. I mean, he's a guy who probably needed the good vibes. But you know what? Brantley's a young guy who probably still has some say in where this program's going to go as well. I think both these guys will go into the offseason and presumably still be competing. We don't know if there'll be another body, but has to feel good for Couillette to have some success here on this day of the year where there hasn't been a ton.
And that's a first down. Darius Bradwell. And they'll be able to run out the clock if they want to, and if UConn doesn't use its timeouts, which will end a miserable season for the UConn Huskies. On the other end, things are looking up at Tulane.
Well, defensively, you really want to have a little heart here. This is going to be one of those things that you'll remember the rest of your life if you're part of that group and don't get to play ball again. Tulane, technically here, they can just sit on this. They don't have to punch it in, but if these are going to be live plays and it looks that they are not, the game will simply end and you'll have that bad taste for life. Fortunate there for that UConn defense, but huge win there for Tulane.
Victory formation, and Bob Diaco will take a losing streak into the offseason. A 3-win third season as UConn drops to 3-9. Tulane to 4-8 as they win their final game of the season for the first time since the early 2000s. 38-13 is the final. Willie Fritz snapping a 14-game conference losing streak for Tulane. ESPN Goal Line is next. That's all for us from East Hartford, Connecticut. For Matt Chatham and our entire crew, I'm Chris Hassel saying so long from Rentschler Field. 4 weeks from Christmas Eve, folks.